we are back. All right, before we get into this, let's see if the internet still works. We ain't broke it yet. All right, as per normal, I will wait for 5x5s. Here comes my screen. I can see me. Can you all see me? Schulte Family Homestead, the new one. We have a winner. Okay, and Lucky Name says 5x5 too. Okay. Good evening, gang. Happy Saturday night. I'm going to adjust this just a hair there. Okay, that's better. All right, now I can see all of my ugly mug. So I hope everybody had a good Saturday. It was still a little cool here today, but eventually warmed up during the day. So since Mrs. P and I are in between planting vegetables, because nothing goes in the ground until April 15th now, we spent our day working on fruits and flowers. So I got watermelons started, and I got columbines started, and I got bee balm started, and then we got all this stuff that we've got to deal with in the backyard with getting some flowers in there to get some pollinators and all. So getting some other flowers. What the hell did she get? The stuff I don't even know the names of what these things are, but yeah, I mean, and of course she got her normal lilies. So she always likes her lilies, so she got more lilies. So that was the extent of the excitement around here today. Lots of fun. So I wanted to touch base on a few things that have been going on in the world here yesterday, today. And one is the news that Gazprom has halted gas shipments to Europe. Okay. Now, this is true. However, don't let the media blow it out of proportion. There are 12 pipelines from Russia to the EU. One has been closed. So if 2 is and 1 is none, that means 12 is 11. Okay. This one obviously is a big one, but this brings petroleum products from far northern Russia, basically up in the Arctic Circle, all the way down through Belarus, through Poland, and into Germany. Okay, that's it. There's Nord Stream 1 brings oil into Germany. You also have Transgas, which brings oil into Germany. So, it's not like all the fuel was cut off to Germany today. It's one pipeline out of 12. So don't everybody freak out that, oh my God, the EU shut off. No, one. That's it. Okay. Not a good thing. But even then, and a lot of the countries in Europe are saying, sorry, we're not participating in that. We need the gas. So then if Russia comes back and says, we're going to shut it off, that can be kicking the sanctions in the teeth, which, like I said a long time ago, sanctions don't work. Okay. The ruble is already back to where it was in February. So it's obviously not affecting them that way. And with all the talk on prices of food up in Russia and everything, well, gee, sorry, that's where it's going everywhere else in the world too. Their money is still the same level it was. I'm sure there was a spike, but the prices of food are up. But guess what? The prices of food are up dramatically here too. So, Europe the other day said, 7% inflation last month. So that's not a big shock. But, so Europe doesn't have to freak out. Don't, the MSM is going to blow this out of proportion. So when you watch this thing, oh my God, they closed a pipeline. There's 11 more. It's not like Europe is not going to be driving cars, heating their houses, or having electricity tomorrow. Now, then this is where you get into the other side of things. Okay. And I had mentioned this the other day about all the asset seizures and everything like this. All right. So now, I said the other day it was 200 to 300 billion. Apparently now it's about $400 billion in Russian assets that have been seized. And like I said in that, I said, okay, are they going to pay back the US taxpayer or anybody in the EU taxpayers and everything for all the weapon systems and everything like that that we gave to Ukraine? Because Ukraine said, we took back Kyiv and everything. Cool. Glad you did. All right. However, good old Zelensky here, who every day I'm figuring this guy's more and more of a dirtbag, Zelensky is, get the terminology here, expecting to be granted access to the $400 billion worth of frozen Russian assets that they can put into the country's reconstruction fund. We have to build back all these buildings and bridges and roads. Well, yeah, you do. Okay. Zelensky also expects $100 billion in aid from the West to help build back. Okay. I got no problem with giving you aid as a loan. And I also won't see giving you that loan until you pay us back for every one of those javelins and every one of those MREs and everything like that that you aren't a NATO member, you aren't an ally. We have no obligation to help you pay for this, okay? You should have bought all this stuff to protect yourself in the first place, okay? You didn't. So now you get it as a loan. Will the West do it that way? No. And that's, of course, why all the countries in the West are broke. Now, one country that's not broke is China. And I had said in a video yesterday, I think it was, about how South America is very off the radar, that there's no real talk about what's going on down there. And it's true. South America really could give a rat's ass what goes on in Europe, because America is hitching its wagon to China as you can. What is it? 20 to 31 Latin American countries have signed on to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, so China's making a big push to go into South America, very quietly, but that's great. So we have a communist China trying to take over the continent that is south of us. The funny part is, while figure this out, okay, while the governments in South America are all for this, the people not so much. Okay, the people don't particularly care for the communist style, and South America is learning what we all know, that everything that's made in China breaks the day after the warranty expires. Okay, this was a good one. Apparently, there's a dam in Ecuador, Codo Sinclair Dam, that the Chinese financed and the Chinese built in 2016. A little more than 5 years ago, right? Yeah, it's already got cracks and leaks and all sorts of other stuff in it. You know, congratulations, you're taking Chinese money. They built you a dam. I hope to God they gave you swimming lessons too. Okay. Yeah, those are the things going on in the world this evening. God. As it gets crazy. Oh, and the last thing, of course, what's going on in the U.S. There's been all sorts of freak out today about Southwest Airlines canceling all these flights and everything. I guess the how do you want to put it? The conspiracy theory media is saying, oh, gee, this is a hack, everything like that, whatever. Okay. Could it be? Maybe. All right. Probability. Southwest came out and said that there was a scheduled outage that was supposed to be for 2 hours at 5 o'clock Eastern this morning. Now, that actually makes sense, because if you've ever flown Southwest, and I have quite a bit, Southwest doesn't have overnight flights. All right. The last ones usually land around 1 o'clock in the morning. And the first ones usually take off around sunrise, 6:30, something like that. Now, 5 o'clock in the morning Eastern is 2 o'clock in the morning Pacific. My daughter used to fly out to Vegas all the time and to Salt. Well, no, I think we actually flew Allegiant to Vegas. No, but when we were at Salt Lake, she flew Southwest all the time from Chicago to Salt Lake. And her flight would land at 11:30, whatever. And by the time the plane was out and everything like that, it was after midnight. So that all made sense. Which now 1 o'clock Eastern time, a little bit late. It was it. So I'm going to put a little bit of faith here in the company that not everything the company tells is a lie. That yes, this was a planned outage to update computers or whatever, and they were trying to do it after the last planes landed and before the first planes took on the West Coast and before the first planes took off on the East Coast. That makes sense. But then I will say this, if anybody's ever noticed this, when you get those Windows updates on your computer, they always come at the least opportune time and they always take longer than expected. Why should we think it'd be any different for an airline? So that's just my thoughts for the day on that one. But all right. So let's get into some of the fun stuff and let's actually talk prepping rather than news here a little bit. But good evening again to everybody. I'm glad you guys are all here. There's about a little over 100 of you already. And no, we're not giving away anything tonight. But that's it. Thank you to all my moderators for being here. Lucky Dame, Lorna, North Shore, Jacob, and Robert. Appreciate you guys always taking time out of your Saturday night to come spend it with all of us. Pay it. Yeah, there you go. So was somebody saying I'm buffering and the sound is off? I don't know why. The microphone's right here. It should be working fine. Plugged in. Let's see if that's any better. That might be. Yeah, it should have been a frozen picture for a second. Okay. Is it getting better now? I'm seeing 5x5s. 5x5, much better, much better, much better. That's better. All good, better. Audio and video are good. 5x5, thanks. Okay. Yeah, what it was, I didn't realize that I had my phone, which obviously is the camera on this, on my home Wi-Fi, not on 4G. So when I put that on 4G, that seems to work better for live streaming. Okay, good. Sorry about that. So I hope you got to hear my soliloquy because I really feel like going through it all over again. But all right. But like I said, thanks to all the mods for being here. Thanks to everybody for showing up this evening. So go through. So let's get into Q&A. Standard rules apply. Anything directed at me, please put it in all caps. Please keep it PG-13. Please stay away from the taboo subjects on YouTube. In other words, no 2020 election, no climate change, no COVID shot ingredient chat, and then of course none of the other thieves and frauds promotions or anything like that. I saw Waldo had asked about, he found a new site that wanted to talk about recommending mods. If you know of sites that you want to recommend, other, whether it be websites or whether it be other channels, feel free to put those in there. If it's good information, go for it. Certainly want to get as much information as we can out to people. Just the only thing I ask is before you put stuff up, make sure they are legitimate sites, okay, and legitimate YouTubers. We all know there are bad ones of both. So, all right, let's get into questiones here. I'm not going to go over the rules like I usually do. You guys know the deal by now. So if you don't and you screw up, the mods know the rules. So let's go into here. So I'll scroll all the way to the top. And let's see. All right, this was still all on the audio. We should have that done. There's no battery in my microphone, so that's not it. Let's find out where we're getting, see if I get better again here. Come on. Okay, there's all the much betters. All right, so now we can get into lots of betters. Okay, first question here. Quinn368. Can I use pine needles in the garden? Yes, but, okay. Green pine needles will acidify your soil. So green pine needles are good to use as mulch around like blueberries or azaleas or anything that likes acidic soil. That's good. Brown pine needles you can use anywhere. That's no problem. Okay, so if they've died off, if they've gone brown, then the acidity is gone and they're fine. Okay, it's the same thing with throwing pine needles in your compost pile. If you throw green needles in there, you're going to slightly acidify your compost, which could be a good thing. If you've got alkaline soil and you need to bring up the acidity to get you closer to that 7 pH, that's a good way of doing it. But if you've got brown pine needles are neutral, you're good using that. They make a great mulch because they're thin enough, they'll cover everything, but they're not so thin that they get super compacted. Yeah. Okay. Pooh and Stitch, tips on keeping those little geckos out of the house. There you go. Yeah, I've had the fun one with setting up the mouse traps. I've caught 3 mice this week. We get, what are they called here? They're, oh God, there's little lizards that run around here too. And I've had one get in the house one time. This was a couple of years ago. It was funny because it got into the mousetrap, cut off its tail. I found the tail on the floor, and then I saw the little lizard, whatever, I can't think of what the damn thing's called. Skinks, that's what they are, running and had no tail. So, but that was it. I don't know, depending on where you live. I mean, sometimes, trust me, the mice drive me nuts. Okay, we don't get them often. They're usually springtime, and I know exactly where they come in. But it's right where the gas line comes up to my oven, right underneath. That's where they're coming in. So, mice get through a crack like this. But yeah, so that's about the extent of it. Whoops. Do not tell me you guys are saying we're lagging again. No, that must have been above. Okay. Back up to where I was. I gotta find where I was. Bear with me. Okay, a Cushnet Prepper. Did I hear Jen Psaki is leaving Biden for MSNBC? Actually, she's not leaving for MSNBC. She's leaving for the Peacock streaming service. So, there you go. Not on TV. She's going to be on their web-only broadcast, kind of like Chris Wallace decided to go on CNN's streaming service, which is doing so well after 1 week of being live. They're already laying people off because the ratings are terrible. I got a kick out of Jen Psaki going there. She's going to compete with Joe Scarborough for viewers. And considering Scarborough gets 3 a day, Jen Psaki should, maybe her mom will watch if she's lucky. But yeah, if you want to watch 3 straight hours of somebody lying to you, go watch the Jen Psaki show. Kevin F. Any thoughts on, or my thoughts on getting an RV to have just in case of SH? Shit, it's a fan. Great idea. An RV would be a good SHTF vehicle. It'd be something good to live in. Look at Preparedness 1. He's living in a camper, on his new property in West Virginia. I don't know how long, if he's planning on building, what he's planning on doing, but it's not going to be quick. So he's going to be in that thing for a while. The only issue that I have with it is those things get like 6 gallons to the mile. Yeah, I didn't say that wrong. So if gas is at a premium, that is now a permanent fixture somewhere. It's not going anywhere. So it depends on your situation. I mean, it could be a very good idea. You could also be stuck in Timbuktu somewhere. I wouldn't want to be driving through the desert of Nevada, hoping that the last chance for gas station still has gas, and all of a sudden you're going, cool, I'm stuck out in the middle of the desert, 200 miles from civilization, and I got no gas. So think also expensive insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Pros and cons to everything. That one's about 50-50. Chantel Hale, you said you planted comfrey, I believe. Can you make tea from that? Yeah, I suppose. I'm not a tea drinker. I believe I've heard of comfrey tea before that people drink, but I planted it specifically to make comfrey tea to feed my plants for another fertilizer source. Because, guys, that is going to be enormous, having some sort of source to feed your plants, your food, because with fertilizer, farmers saying up 2 times, 3 times, 4 times in price, guess who's going to get the fertilizer first? It's going to be farmers. It ain't going to be you. So you're going to need to know how to get the nutrients you need to your fruits and vegetables in a little more homesteady way. So hence the reason that I planted some comfrey, planted some stinging nettle, because that'll help. I showed you guys all the other fertilizers. I mean, hell, I'm out there with my sprinkler once a week on the stuff that's going on, put my liquid fertilizers, what those are, in my plants. So, trying to get the nutrients in the soil, and they're free. Okay. Michelle Rucker, do I know a cheap place to purchase coal? Don't have a clue. No. Yeah, one of those things I've never had to do. David Green, too. What's one of my favorite meals? Mrs. P's Stroganoff has got to be right up there at the top. Let me make a good brisket. That's in there. I love her pork and cabbage. Of course, give me a good steak, give me a good burger, any day of the week. Fettuccine Alfredo, got to have chicken in it though. Yeah, there's a lot of things. But I said, if I had to pick my absolute favorite, it's Mrs. P's Stroganoff. The chicken soup comes close though. Peggy Sue, does anyone know where there is free land? I have widow friends, need to move, only Social Security. If you look online, you can, I've seen this before, and I mean, it's not just here you go. Okay, there's catches to it. And I haven't looked in a while. I remember looking a year or so ago. There's places, I think, in Nebraska or Kansas or something like that, little towns that are trying to rebuild, and they'll give you a plot of land. I mean, it's not going to be 25 acres or something like that. You get your little postage stamp lot. They'll give you the lot for free as long as you build some sort of house there or whatever it is within a certain amount of time. Yeah, the days of well, I can't think of the word, what it was called, claim staking or whatever it is. But where you just showed up and said, poof, this is mine. Those are gone. Big B prepping. I pressure canned 15 pounds of ground beef today. My first time doing this. Very fun. Cool. Yeah, now you got more room in the freezer to go out and get something else. And it's funny, Mrs. P and I pressure canned quite a bit of ground beef. What you'll find is it actually tastes better after it's been canned and you cooked it up. It actually, for some reason, it brings out the taste in it. Interesting. At least we found that. Okay. Joshua Mahay, will police lock down and form a sort of martial law when shortages truly hit? Well, okay, here's the first part. If it's martial law, the police have nothing to do with it. The police are removed from their post. It's that martial law is the military taking over. The police are out. Okay, the police no longer have any authority, unless of course they're military police or the cops or National Guard or something like that. But then they're working under military authority, not police authority. That's the whole point of martial law, is the government is effectively ruled by the military. Will they lock down and form when the shortages hit? I doubt that. You'd have yeah, it'll happen in some cities. Yeah, I mean, you take a look at a New York or a Baltimore or something like that. You start getting food riots, and there will be curfews and things like that. Out here where I am, no. I mean, for a couple of reasons. The military is not going out to Timbuktu, and even if they did, where they could send two guys in a Jeep, to say, oh, okay, here in a county of 19,000 people, we're going to put, a entire company to go out and patrol to keep people off the streets. No, because they're going, we need tens of thousands of troops in the big cities. Would there be troops in Knoxville? Possibly. Would there be troops out here? Highly doubtful. It would probably be very spotty if we ever got that far. And I don't think that would be enough to turn us into a martial law situation. Patrice Lindsay, what is the best way to start potato slips? Well, start sweet potato slips. The best thing I'm going to tell you is you're a couple of months late. Okay, you need to start these probably back January, February. There's two trains of thought, depending on the volume of sweet potatoes you're going to grow. A lot of people will say, go put them out in a cold frame, go put them in, if the weather permits, put them in a garden. I've done it both ways. Done it on the inside, because obviously my winters are cold. I've put them in a flat pan, like those aluminum trays that like aluminum foil ones that you cook your turkey in or whatever it is. Put soil in there. I've done that. I don't have the greatest luck with that. I have better luck with the toothpicks and the water method, okay? But again, I'm saying it depends on how many slips you need to grow. If you need to grow 200 slips, you're going to have to plant them outside and let them grow that way. If you need 20, okay, plant a couple of potatoes in a glass of water and sit at the windowsill. But like I said, that either way is going to take you a couple of months to get it done. I mean, I've got roots on my sweet potatoes now. I did it in January, and I still don't have greens, okay? Not ready to plant sweet potatoes yet. Got plenty of time to get the greens, but when they come, they'll come quickly. But, I've got roots that are this long. P. Joe 2179. Do you or Mrs. P play any musical instruments? If the radio counts, yes. Otherwise, no. Okay, Chris Blood says, audio good now, picture out of focus. Picture looks fine from my end on both my camera and on the screen. So, Elizabeth, thank you for the super chat. I greatly appreciate that. But throw a question in there or something. But thank you. Ann Palmer, last weekend was apple and plum trees. This weekend was peach trees. Ordered the Job sticks for fertilizers. What trees have you planted? We've got, okay, and again, remember when you guys are planting fruit trees, there's a couple of things about fruit trees. Just because they sell them where, at Home Depot or Lowe's doesn't necessarily mean they grow well in your area. Remember, they're there to sell a product, not necessarily to give you what's going to work. Okay. So you got to make sure, the type of tree that you have or that you're buying is conducive to your area. We were in Lowe's today in the garden section, and there was a couple next to me that was looking at cherry trees, and again, we're in Knoxville. And I told you guys, the only sweet cherry tree I can find that grows here is a sweetheart cherry. That's it. They may plant that cherry tree, they're not getting any cherries from it. Okay. So that's the first thing you got to find out, is make sure it's going to work. Second thing, is it a self-pollinating tree or does it need a pollinator? Okay. So you need to know that real quick. So that being said, to answer the question, I have one pear tree, self-pollinating, one peach tree, self-pollinating, 2 plums, which need to cross-pollinate, 2 apples, which need to cross-pollinate, 2 figs, which need to cross-pollinate, a cherry tree, an apricot tree. Okay. For the 2 of us, that should be enough fruit. So I'm not trying to start an orchard, but that should, as we have already got some plums, we've already got some peaches. The trees are still young. Hopefully we'll get more this year. The peach tree and the pear tree are the oldest. Those things are probably 15 feet tall already, so we'll probably get more. The only thing that worries me is that freeze we had a week or so ago. My peach tree had already flowered, so that froze out all those buds. My pear tree flowered afterwards, but of course now we're going to have days that are going to be down below freezing again, so I don't know if I'm going to get any fruit out of either one of them this year, so we'll see. Stella Longmire, Pinball, what's the best mill for greenhouse plastic, clear or other? And all I'm going to tell you is from what I've heard. I have no experience with it, but I guess 7 mil is pretty much the standard for what people go for. Yarn Prepper, can you compost little pine cones? Yes, but I would smash them up first because they will take a long time to, if you leave them as is. Put them in a bag. If they're still green, all you're going to do is squish them. If they're dried out, you'll break them up. At minimum, break off all the petals from it. Better case scenario, if you can run it through a wood chipper or something like that and make it smaller, that would be better. It's just, you can do it. Just plan on when you're sifting your compost, throwing those back in year after year. It'll take some time for those to break out. Treasure Seekers makes a good point. Careful when adding pine needles in a garden. The sap is actually what's used to make turpentine. Very true. Jess B, do I believe the globalists really want to end red meat? For us, yes. Okay, now I posted something on the community board yesterday, that article that was bouncing around all these websites I'd never heard of before. If you went all the way to the bottom with it, it said in there this was a April Fool's joke. So no, Biden hasn't outlawed meat as of 2024 or anything like that. Do the globalists want to do this? Yes. Again, they have no concept of reality. If when we were driving through town today, okay, through my town, not going into Knoxville, just on the peninsula here, I kid you not, I probably saw 150 cows, okay? And this was just for me to get out of town. There's people that have cows all over the place. And we don't have big ranches or anything like that. These are people that have cows in some land or whatever it is, and they sell the beef or sell the milk or whatever the hell it would be. You're not going to get rid of it. All right. What are they going to do? Put something in the water that kills all cows? None of these people are going to go, oh, gee, you know what? I'll just euthanize all my cows. No problem, because Joe wants it or Klaus wants it. No. And that they may want to, but that's wonderful. I want to win the Powerball. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Okay. Angie Williams, I haven't been able to find white half runner or greasy or turkey bean green seeds. Any suggestions? My best thing I can say is look online. Considering you're in Kentucky, I'd say, look at Haas Seeds, Haas Tools. They might have it, but yeah, I mean, if you're used to getting them at, the big box stores, maybe they just don't have them. You're going to have to look at seed companies, I think, this year. GFG Homestead, how are my sweet potatoes doing? Talked about that. They're rooting out. Matthew Stevens, I got a wild plum tree cutting. Can I only graft that into another fruit tree? I'm not the one to answer that. I've never grafted a tree in my life, so I don't know if you have to graft it onto another fruit tree or you can graft it onto a Japanese maple. I don't know, so that would be something somebody else need to tell you. Okay, Kevin, we already answered that one. And shot to the bottom. Let's go back to the top. Yarn Prepper agrees, says yes, canned beef tastes better. Don't know why. It makes no sense, but it does. Mark Starrett, hello to you and everyone. Have a decent supply for my family, but everyone keeps saying stock up. But when you just have enough just to pay the bills to get by, then you need to figure out how to get more. Okay, whether it is planting a garden and canning that, whether it, like I mentioned last week, doing surveys and making $20 extra or $30 extra a week and using that for preps. There's always, where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to figure out how to get more, you'll figure it out. I did want to bring something up here. I forgot about this until just now. If anybody is in Liberty Hill, Texas, or nearby, Tanya Bednarchik sent me an email today. It says, a friend of mine had a neighbor that moved and left a small flock of chickens to fend for themselves. They need a good home. They are free. Someone would have to get them in Liberty Hill, Texas, take them to a good home. There's 1 rooster and 6 laying hens. So if anybody's nearby and wants free chickens and, obviously can go get them, email me and I'll get you connected with Tanya there. Okay. Okay, let me get those cleaned up. Okay, back to where we were. Okay. Axton says, what veggie fruit seeds are fastest to grow? But the fastest thing you're going to grow is radishes. Okay, you can literally have radishes in a month. So, you can look at something like that. You can throw a bunch of radishes in there. I mean, not that I want to make a habit of just eating radishes for dinner, but if you need food, there's what you can do fast. Lettuce grows quickly. Any of your greens will grow quick enough that you can start harvesting them. Obviously, microgreens, will grow in a couple of days, on pea shoots or whatever it is. You can plant peas and have pea shoots in a week. But if you're talking to fruition, the fastest ones would be radishes, lettuces, stuff like that. John Bourne says, Sri Lanka guys, look into it. That's how we'll be. I talked about that on this morning's video. Amy Arsenault, I got to play in the dirt all day today. Woohoo! Dennis Ross, do I have a video on canning ground beef? No, I don't. And I will tell you exactly why. I'm a novice at canning. We are still learning it. Okay. The channel I basically go to for canning assistance is Sutton's Days, and watch Lisa. Lisa's a canning guru. And I try not to, I'm not a believer in fake it till you make it. I'm not going to tell you, oh guys, here's how you can ground beef. Telling you, well, this is the second time I've ever done it. Okay. Unless I know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to try to tell you guys how to do it. All right. That's why I kind of stick to the topics that I know and leave out the ones I don't. People ask me questions about knives or something like that. I know how to use a knife. I can tell which one is better or worse, but, being able to tell you the different metals or something like that, which is off the top of my head, it's not my forte. There's plenty of people who know that. That's why I say, guys, watch multiple channels, take what you can from them, leave the rest, okay? There's plenty of people out there who try to bullshit you through something. I'm just not one of them. Brenda Seymour, where do I get mullein plants or seeds? Not a clue. Again, I'm going to tell you, look online. Peggy Sue, how did I can meat? Cook first, season, broth in it. I did it as a raw pack, and so put it in raw and then cooked it in that way. It made more sense to me to leave it in the grease rather than to cook it, pour out all the grease, and just dry and hot pack it. So that's how we did it, But I guess you can do it either way. But again, I'm not the canning guru. Ildiko, today's my birthday. I'm happy to spend here time with the community. Well, happy birthday to you. Guy, would I give growing mushrooms a try? Yes, I would. I've never done it. Okay, and I love mushrooms, don't get me wrong. But I am, my grandfather used to be, and again, you got to remember my heritage is Czech and Polish. So, Czechs are famous for mushroom foraging. My grandfather used to be able to walk through the woods and say, that's a good one, that's a bad one, that's a good one, that's a bad one, everything like that. I'm like, okay, if I picked up a mushroom, guaranteed the first one I thought was good would be poisonous. Okay. So I don't do it because from what I've read about it, a good one and a poisonous one could look literally exactly the same. And I'm not willing to take that risk. So, but growing them, yes, I would do that. Chris Stapleton, do I think Russia will collapse? No. I think there's potential that Putin's government will collapse, but I don't think Russia will collapse. The people are too proud. That's the only thing I will say there. I think Putin's on his last legs. I know there were all the stories yesterday of, he's got thyroid cancer, or there was one that was saying they think he's got, what's it that Michael J. Fox has? Parkinson's. Okay, the thyroid cancer stuff has been running around for 8 years or something like that. So who knows? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe this is his last, maybe the doctors told him he's got 6 months to live and he's trying to set up his legacy. Who knows? Putin's not immortal, Russia will. Russia will continue to exist. I hate to use this term, but it's too big to fail. Okay, Russia is not some little Central African country. Russia still has vast quantities of oil, vast quantities of rare earth minerals, everything like that. So will the government fall apart? Will Putin's government fall apart? Yes. Will Russia? No. Cross Canada News, thank you for the super chat from Communist Canada. Never miss your daily videos. Thank you for what you do. Patiently waiting for asylum. I don't know, Fred. Coming here ain't exactly all that in a bag of chips lately. So, maybe if we had the last president, or maybe when we have the next president, but under this one right now, we ain't a whole lot better than True Dope. So. Let's see. Joan S., you mentioned in your story about survey companies to earn money. Which ones are good? The best one I found was opinionoutpost.com. That one was legit. The rest of them, I can't say the rest of them. There are a lot of other ones I tried, and it's like it'll take you forever to make a couple of bucks. At least in Opinion Outpost, I was able to make $5 or $10 a day. So. And then it adds up, and you get up to, I think the minimum to cash out was $10. So every other day I could cash out. The next day it'd be in my bank account, whatever it would be, or in my PayPal account. Moldy Soldier, I wondered about the surveys too. Yes, here I'll put it down in the chat so you guys can see it. But I've made good money with them over the years. So I'm sitting there doing nothing else. It's like, oh, go answer a couple of surveys or whatever it is. Some you qualify for, some you don't. It's like, okay, that's it. You also know it's like, oh, the politics one comes on. It says, who'd you vote for? Donald Trump. Okay, you're not qualified. It's like, oh, okay. So here's the survey where all you want to do is interview Democrats so you can say, what do you think of the current president? There's stuff in there too. I don't care. It's like, that's fine. Just pay me. David Green too. Thank you for the super chat. Let's see. What did you say? Love this prepper community. Thanks for starting the day out with coffee and pinball preparedness. Thanks for your leadership. I wouldn't say it's leadership. I would just say it's being part of the community. I mean, I'm, like I said, just one of you guys just here trying to share information and have some fun doing it at the same time. Stephanie Flowers, have I ever used mycorrhizal root inoculum when I transplant seedlings? Absolutely. Okay. And the nice part about it is eventually after you use it, it will wind up staying in your garden, because even when I go out and will dig the soil now, I will see all the mycorrhiza in the garden now. This time of year, when I was planting potatoes a couple of weeks ago, it was all over the place, and they're just waiting, going, okay, give me some roots to tap into. Because as you use it, it stays in there, But I've shown you guys before on inoculating my peas, on inoculating my beans and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely a good thing to do. And if you guys don't know what it is, mycorrhiza, what it will do, it basically, put it easiest way to do it, it'll extend your roots. So say your plant has roots like this, the mycorrhiza attaches to the root and will go out and can start picking up water from way somewhere else and nutrients and whatever, and bringing it back to the plant. If I remember correctly, the longest mycorrhiza ever discovered was 4 miles long, just to give you that one. So imagine, that your plant is getting its nutrients from 4 miles away. Becky Reed, when do I transplant my seedlings to bigger pots? When they get their first true leaves. Okay. And that's just me personally, because I used a little 1-inch. I've got them sitting over here, but there's 24 seed trays in a flat when I'm planting my seeds. When I get my true leaves on there, which is basically your second set of leaves, not the first ones. The first ones are your germination leaves. The second ones are your first true leaves. When those come, by then you've pretty much got roots down to the bottom of the root ball. If you wait too much longer, they're going to start getting root bound in there, so you want to be potting them up. And by potting them up, most of the time what I'm doing is putting them in red Solo cups. So, or if I've got any extra pots from buying Impatiens or something like that, 3-inch pots or 4-inch pots, if I've got leftover ones that I've saved from the previous years, because I always save my pots from anything that I buy, because you can use them over and over and over again. And they're free because you already got them. So, all right. Beautiful day. How do you can hamburger meat? Again, same thing. I'd say for any canning questions, go to Sutton's Days. Mods, if one of you wants to put Lisa's link in there, that'd be great. Elizabeth Nelson, did I talk about using alfalfa pellets for nitrogen or to make fertilizer tea with? I've mentioned it a couple of times. I've never done anything in depth with it, but yes, alfalfa pellets are excellent for putting nitrogen in your soil and everything like that. Throwing in your compost pile. If this time of year, we're getting closer to when you're going to have the greens, but this time of year, if your compost pile looks anything like mine, it's got tons of leaves in it and tons of cardboard and tons of paper, all the browns. You want to get a kickstart on it, you can go throw some alfalfa pellets in there. There's a ton of nitrogen. We're getting to the point of getting your grass clippings and stuff like that, so you'll start getting the greens. But let's say you're up north where there's still snow on the ground, go get yourself a cheap bag of alfalfa pellets, throw it in the compost pile, and you get your compost started early. Colleen Geis, can blackberries and raspberries grow on the same plot safely? Absolutely. Matter of fact, you pretty much need, well, raspberries and blackberries are another one that you need cross-pollination, and they will cross-pollinate with each other. I just planted a couple of raspberry plants, blackberry plants the other day, and I kid you not, just going to Walmart. They come in 2 packs, okay, because they've got to be cross-pollinated. One is a blackberry, one is a red raspberry. That's how they're sold. So yes, they can't. If somebody's telling you they can't be planted together, they're wrong. CB, ever canned cheap hot dogs? It tastes like smoked sausage, great with scrambled eggs. No, I've never even thought about canning hot dogs yet, but I could say make your own Vienna sausages. There you go. What's the consistency of recycled cottage and garden? What's the consistency of your canned hamburger? Mine was like cat food. I mean, you're not going to put it back together and make a hamburger out of it, but for using it for a spaghetti sauce or hamburger helper or something like that, you know, it came out fine. It was still crumbly when we did it. Angry Homesteader, great job on the fruit trees. We did the same. Tracy Bolin, do I grow figs? Yes, I've got 2 of them. Mentioned that earlier. Sandy Z, Pinball, can you grow strawberries from seeds from the store-bought strawberries? I will tell you this. I have tried to grow strawberries from seed. If you can do it, strawberries are insanely difficult to grow from seed. You can try, yes, you can grow them, yes, the seeds from the store-bought ones, provided they came from the United States. Remember, if you bought something that came from Mexico, it's been irradiated before it came over. All right, so they're, you know, seeds are now sterile. If you've got ones that are from the United States, you know, they can say whatever they want about organic and be organic Mexican, they've still been irradiated. You can try it, but again, the best thing to do for strawberries is get a plant. The easiest way to do it is to propagate them yourself, because remember, when you grow strawberries, wherever they touch the ground, they're going to root. Okay, strawberries spread. If you can get a cutting, and I remember, I'm not telling anybody to do this, I'm just telling you this. I remember 50 years ago when I was a kid, we would go to, at the time, Kmart's nursery, and my mother would pick up the broken leaves or whatever off the ground from whatever plants, and she'd take them home and root them and turn them into plants. Strawberries work the same way. You get a leaf off of it, stick it in water. If you got some stuff to make the roots grow better, it'll do it, but you can do it just in water. Root them yourself and do it that way, self-propagate. So, but that's a way you could do it free. You know, if you've got a friend of yours that has strawberry plants, ask them if you can take 5 or 6 leaves, take them home, throw them each in a glass of water, let them root and plant them. Storm of Truth Preparedness. Love hearing you straight. You're straight to the point. Love hearing the truth. Yeah, pretty much me. I've always been that way. I don't have time for bullshit. Just this is what I need. Get it done. Move on to the next one. I always used to say, you know, at the end of the day, I knew I could go home from work when my inbox was empty, when everything was in the outbox. That meant my day was over. I don't have time to sit there and BS. I'll give you one quick story. This is when I was working early on, when I was working in recruiting. I'd maybe been a recruiter for 6 or 7 years. I worked at a company that had about 15 recruiters, and the owner was a complete ass. Okay, to give you an idea how much, the owner's office was on the first floor. We were in a strip mall, and he had a window that went out to the parking lot. For his computer screen, he had a big screen TV on the wall in front of him, so you could see the big screen TV through the window. Our insurance guy came over one time and told him, Mike, you should stop watching porn. Everybody can see it through the store window. Okay. Just telling you how much of an ass this guy was. So I remember one time he comes up and says to me, he goes, You have the least amount of time on the phone all day. 8-hour workday, I had like 2 hours on the phone. He goes, "Look at this guy. This guy had over 4.5 hours on the phone." I'm like, "Yeah," I said, "but look at this column." I said, "Productivity part." I said, "How many people I submitted for jobs today versus how many people he submitted for jobs today?" I said, "I don't care about how you get there. I just worry about getting there." That was it. And he never said another word to me again. It's like, I could care less about calling up somebody and talking about their golf game all day long. "Hi, I'm calling you about a job. Let's talk about the job. I don't care, about your new puppy." So, yeah, I'm always been straight to the point. Chris, other than mushrooms, what food can grow in a forest? Oh my God. If you could learn like crazy on foraging. Wild blackberries, wild blueberries, wild asparagus. Dandelions are edible. I'm not a foraging expert by any means, but you can go through the woods and find all sorts of stuff that you can eat. Uh, Holy crap, it's 4 minutes to 10 already. First time I even looked. Melissa Smith, no meat equals no protein, weak, and you can't fight back. Yes, hence the reason why it's very important to grow beans. Nick Collins, Mr. and Mrs. Pinball, the stroganoff recipe, go look in the playlists. Mrs. P made a video on how to make a bunch of different things, including stroganoff on there. Already answered that one, just shot to the bottom. Ann Palmer, my mom did cutting collections everywhere we went. She's 80 now and still does. Yep. Okay. There must have been something about that generation because my mother's just about 80 now at this point, too. Xer1, I'm happy you're here tonight. It's my birthday and I've been abandoned by my boyfriend, but at least now I'll have 2 years of food. Well, sorry to say that about your boyfriend. I think it might be time to upgrade, but happy birthday. Yeah. Not showing up on the birthday is not a good thing. Sunshine Me, my yard has not been sprayed in 2 years. Are the dandelions safe to eat? Absolutely. Not a problem whatsoever there. Let's see where else we got here. Yeah, okay. Chris says the same thing. My daughter picks up plant parts and makes them grow at home. Yeah, it's the easiest way to get plants free is that way. Take cuttings and a lot of plants you can reroot. The woodier plants are a little harder, but your green plants, you can pretty much root about anything. Guys, literally, you could take your tomato plant, when you're picking off those stems, to plant it deeper, you can take one of those stems, plant, it'll root. You got another tomato plant. So, don't, if you're short on plants, propagate. Mountaintop Preps, how's the poison on my finger? It's, you probably can't see it. It's getting better. It's not as itchy anymore. The swelling's finally down in it. Aquadrop 61, did my zucchini ever sprout? I haven't planted zucchini yet. It's too early. But I've got all my peppers, my tomatoes, my cabbage, my peppers and my tomatoes are all what's under the lamps right now. The cukes and the pickles. Yeah, those are all good. Nothing else has been, other than what's already in the garden, has been seed started yet because it's not time yet. I'm trying to see if there's one more here because we're 1 minute till. I actually got through all the chat tonight. That's not normal. Okay, usually I get way behind. Beautiful day. Do I prune my fig trees? I will when they get bigger. Right now, they are only probably about 3 feet high, so they're not ready to be pruned yet. but they are growing on along. So as they get bigger, haven't got any figs yet. I mean, when we buy the trees, we usually buy the little ones, the bushes. I'm not going to go spend $100 on one fruit tree when I can go spend $100 and buy 4 fruit trees and wait a year, okay, to catch up. So yeah, some of my trees have been in for 2 years, some of my trees have been in for 1 year, and one tree is, no, I take it back, the cherries, the apples, and one of the plums. So 4 trees have been in since last fall. So, all right, guys, it's 10 o'clock. Thank you for everything. I think North Shore is finally back, so I'm betting he's going on shortly. Have a wonderful Saturday evening, and we'll see y'all in the morning. Pinball out.